How's it going, everybody? Bryan Alvarez here on Wrestling Observer Live. We are here every day, Monday through Friday, noon Pacific, 3 Eastern, Sundays, 3 Pacific, 6 Eastern, Saturday mornings with Jim Valley, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 Eastern, Sundays with Andrew Zarian. And it's Monday on the show. You know what that means? We got a lot to talk about. A lot of stuff happened this weekend. And we'll talk about Chris Bay and Vikingo when we come back from the first break. Not all of the news was good. But we will talk about that and all of the shows. We had the Bound for Glory show. We had the SmackDown show, which I just finished talking about with Filthy Tom. SmackDown was awesome. The last 45 minutes of the show was incredible. So we can talk about that. We also had the NXT Halloween Havoc show, which was not incredible. It was fine. I would say it was fine. But, I mean, we had significantly better matches on Rampage and Collision and SmackDown. We had better storylines on those shows. It was just a show. So we'll tell you about that. And we got lineups for the next couple of days. Raw is coming up tonight before they head to Saudi Arabia. They've already taped SmackDown. We won't do spoilers here on this show. We have NXT on the CW tomorrow night. AEW Dynamite. Fright Night Dynamite coming up on Wednesday. And also, of course, we have got the Full Crown Jewel lineup. And we'll go over all of that here today, plus more news, including Joe Hendry. What's going on with Joe Hendry? TNA has announced the next big pay-per-view coming up in January. AEW's got some new trademarks. Noah is introducing a women's title. Willow Nightingale injured. Samantha Irvin apparently didn't want to be a ring announcer. There's actually more to that story we can tell you about here, and plenty more. So a lot to get into here today. Mike Sempervive joins us after the break. Back in a moment, Observer Live. Bryan Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. Mike Sempervive, also of WrestlingObserver.com. I want to start the show sending best wishes today to Chris Bay. And I can't tell you much more other than that. He was wrestling at the TNA TV tapings in Detroit and stretchered out after a match with the Hardys. Filthy Tom says that it was like Matt gave him just like a neck breaker, and he just had a bad bump, and they went right to the finish, got the medics out there, stretchered him out. Fightful Select said he had underwent surgery to treat the injury, and we don't know anything other than that. And a lot of people don't know anything. I've been having people ask me all day, and nobody seems to know. So hope everything's all right, and wishing for the best for Chris Bay. Hate to see things like this happen, but that's what we know as of right now. And he was not the only person injured. The Kingo did some dive, and he also got stretchered out. And Filthy also saw footage of this, and he said, man, the way this guy landed and the way his knee twisted underneath, that's exactly what happened to me when essentially he tore everything in his knee. So Vikingo, of course, coming off a knee injury, so likely another one here. So all the best to both of them. Don't really have any details other than that, but pretty scary, all of this stuff going down.
Very, and for Vikingo, too, to have a knee injury this close after the last one for his style of wrestling, you know, it's going to be tough. And when it comes to Chris Bay, just whatever happened there, all the best to him, and hopefully that surgery went fine and we find out some more that he's okay soon.
So the Bound for Glory show, just a couple of notes since we're talking about it here. I didn't watch the show, but if I would have seen them putting on that Joe Hendry match before the Full Metal Mayhem match, you can argue that, well, you're not going to be able to follow a Full Metal Mayhem match, so. But that kind of would have told me Joe Hendry ain't winning that title. And he didn't. Nick Nemeth beat him. Frankie Kazarian was a special guest referee. They had some shenanigans and such. And that was that. So
JBL.
Not enough believing in old Joe Hendry. Yeah, JBL.
Nick Nemeth and JBL have a partnership that stretches across TNA, AAA, and World Wrestling Council in Puerto Rico. It's the oddest thing, it seems like, and maybe even in GCW where JBL has showed up as well too. So I wonder if he's going to be a regular now on TNA. I guess that could be the case, but maybe Joe Hendry's got other bigger things coming to him, and that TNA title maybe not as important right now. Who knows? Well,
you know, it is possible that they didn't put the title on him because he was potentially going to WWE. That is possible. But, I mean, you've also got WWE and TNA are they're working together. And I don't have any inside information. Maybe that's exactly why they didn't. But it's October, and you could have given the guy a run. I mean,
sure.
Look at it this way. Let's say I'm WWE, okay? I would want him to have had the TNA title. It's something extra. And, from the TNA perspective, well, what would you do? Because you could argue, well, if he's going to be leaving, I mean, we shouldn't give him a short title run. But, it also, if the guy's leaving one way or the other, well, is it a benefit to TNA or not to say that, hey, man, our world champion, he'd obviously have lost the title by then, but one of our world champions has moved on to WWE. I think it was maybe just a booking decision, but I don't know. I guess we'll know soon enough.
Be interesting to see who he does lose that title against. Now, Frankie Kazarian, who was lariated by JBL in that match earlier on in the show, won a choose your championship gauntlet. I forget what they called the deal at the during the pre-show. Defeated Rhino, so he gets to have a title shot against anybody he wants coming up during the year. So maybe they're going to do something with Kazarian and Nemeth. Maybe that's what it is. But when you really look at it, other than Joe Hendry, I don't know who they could have put the belt on who's there where it could have actually gotten some traction and some more attention. He seemed like the best guy, so it'd be interesting to see what they actually decide to do next.
Someone here says Joe himself tweeted he's out of there. No, he didn't. He did not.
No, he did not.
He did a tweet that had a Royal Rumble countdown, and that does not mean he's out of there because WWE has had TNA wrestlers and champions in the Royal Rumble before, and they made their appearance. They did some other appearances, but they were still in TNA. Joe Hendry can be in the Royal Rumble without leaving TNA and signing with WWE. I don't even know what his contract status is, so this is a wait and see. Now, the Hardys did win the tag team titles in the Full Metal Mayhem match, so the fans went home happy. Beat the System and Ace Austin and Chris Bay to win those titles. And one more title run for Matt and Jeff Hardy. And those were the... I heard the last three matches. The Masha Slamovich victory over Jordan Grace for the Knockouts title. The Nemeth and Hendry, which of course was storyline, and then the main event were very good. So that's the update on that show. And this was also interesting. TNA reportedly wanted to induct AJ into Hall of Fame, but according to Fightful, WWE passed on the opportunity. And I'm sure some of you will say, well, listen. He signed to WWE, and I would bet you dollars to donuts that if he'd already gone into the WWE Hall of Fame, they would have said that's fine. But the fact that he has not gone into the WWE Hall of Fame, I don't think they want somebody else getting the big first AJ Styles into the Hall of Fame moment ahead of them. So that's my guess as to why they turned down his induction. But I would bet that he's going to end up in all these Hall of Fames in a few years.
How bad is his Lisfranc? I mean, the foot injury that he had, is it, how, I don't know to the level it was at. They may have plans for him to come back, at some point, or want to keep him a surprise for the Rumble or something like that. That could also be possibly the other reason why. I know to some people that won't be an excuse, and they'll just look at it as WWE standing in the way of something else with NXT, with TNA. But with that said, Bob Ryder deserved to be in, and Rhino being inducted in Detroit was actually a really nice moment. It's up for free on YouTube, the speech that he gave, and that probably was a better fit anyway.
All righty. By the way, we had an NXT talent on the Bound for Glory show. Brinley Reese teamed with Isaiah Brookside. They lost to Ash and Heather by Elegance.
Heather Reckless is now Elegance.
Heather by Elegance. Oh, you finally figured it out? Good job.
Oh, yeah, because you knew, right?
Of course.
Oh, sure you did.
Heather Reckless. You didn't ask.
Sure. Yeah.
I know everything about wrestling. I'm an expert.
Oh, yeah. What does she look like?
Well, I mean, she's very attractive. That's why she's in That's why she's in By Elegance, the name of their group here. AEW filed 3 new trademarks recently for AEW WrestleMax, WrestleMax, and AEW Max Month.
This might have something to do with the Max streaming service.
No, it has to do with MXM. Don't be an idiot.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Maximum Male Models is going to have their own month.
Can it
Max
be for
by
MJF
Elegance
instead, please?
Max by Elegance is what it's going to be.
With as much as they've been on TV, it's a cruel joke to spread out there.
It's actually, of course, not MXM, everybody. It's going to be an MJF month. AEW WrestleMax, and AEW Max month. He's going to be
Bryan
all
Alvarez
over the show.
is reporting that.
He is going to be in charge of everything and getting a lot of massages. Much like I apparently got based on the Bryan and Vinny clip this weekend. Check it out on YouTube. Back in a moment with more actual news. Observer Live. Just a quick note before this free video. If you click like and subscribe, I'd be very thankful. Let's do this unnecessary censorship.
Talk about your Psalms, talk about John 3:16. Austin 3:16 says I just your ass.
That was terrible. Horrible. They weren't the Heart Foundation. They weren't the British Bulldogs, okay? They're two geeks. And this celebration these guys did.
Oh.
I mean, they're like, Sean, give me brother. Yeah.
A place like that?
You two dorks. That's what you did. Why are you so excited?
Because they're awesome.
Okay. That was better than the first one.
It picked up at the end there.
Yes.
Unnecessary censorship.
He beat him. And 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 he beat him. Sweating.
Time to stop.
And he beat him.
Was this edited?
And then he beat him. And he beat him. So. I actually wore that shirt. It just says he beat him, he beat him, he beat him all the way down. Like,
all the way down, you say?
I dropped her off at camp, and the camp counselor just looks at me. She goes, he beat him and beat him. I was like, gag gift.
Brian, would you for me again this week? It's too hot to do much.
That's true. It is too hot to do much.
I guess I just better do it because it came up for me.
I'll wait.
It won't come up again. It's pretty short, so I'll just do it. Yeah. Now I gotta find it back.
Okay.
It isn't
Damn,
coming
I'm gonna
up.
kill you. How about you just it? Okay.
Ouch.
What else we got, Vinny? The granny licks her finger to turn the page. Lick that finger. There'll be
Page
an
2.
unnecessary censorship coming up. Lick that. Okay, let's see. Unnecessary censorship.
So Oro Ethan after the match and gets his ass just into the earth.
Vinny.
And Ethan is leaving, holding his all confident. And then Oro just comes back to life, and now he Ethan's ass.
Oro jumps him from behind.
Yep.
Then he his ass after cheap shotting the guy. Haha. That was interesting. That's quite unnecessary. Instead of suffering through the YouTube chat, click like and subscribe. Fella here is suggesting a Max Caster month. No. That would be greatest month alive. They didn't trademark that one, so it's not Max Caster. You know what was awesome this weekend?
What was awesome?
Not Halloween Havoc.
No. It was average.
There was actually some great wrestling on Rampage and Collision. But by far my favorite moment of the weekend was the freaking last 45 minutes of SmackDown.
That was fun.
No, dude, it was incredible. It was beyond fun. It was
orgasmic.
No, I didn't say that. I said it was incredible. Don't put words in my mouth. Now,
Never mind.
they were doing a number one contenders match. Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin, the Motor City Machine Guns, against DIY. The winners are going to get a shot at the tag titles. And like a week ago, we were talking about this, like, who's going to win? Like, you don't want to bring in the Motor City Machine Guns and, like, what, they win one match and then they lose to DIY and then DIY gets murdered by the Bloodline? Or, you know, maybe they could at least win the number one contenders tournament and then, what, they get killed by the Bloodline? I was trying to figure out what the heck can they do here. And, man, this was another one. There were two moments this weekend where wrestling was significantly smarter than me And I was so happy and I was so mad I didn't figure it out in advance. And this was one. They win, the Motor City Machine Guns win the number 1 contenders match. And it's like a great match. It's freaking Motor City Machine Guns against DIY. What are you expecting? And the announcers are just, man, they're putting over the Machine Guns. They're putting over Alex Shelley like he's a Hall of Famer. Like, this guy's been around. He's been all over the world. He's mentored these young guys. You know, they're just putting him over like it's Ric Flair in there. And they win the match. And I'm thinking, I mean, is this match taking place at Crown Jewel? Like, when are we getting this match? And like, what the hell are they going to do? So then they bring out the Bloodline because they're coming out for the main event segment. And, you know, they go to commercial, they come back, and Nick Aldis is there, and he's holding, this is not going to happen, this is not going to start tonight, don't fight, blah, blah, blah. And so, I'm like, okay. And I told the spoiler part of this story on the Filthy Tom show, which if you've not heard the Filthy Tom show, go listen to it after this show because it's actually a free show here today, so everybody can listen to it. There's actually an even better part of the story for me. But anyway, long story short, you know, Aldis goes, we're not doing this here tonight because Solo offers him a shot or whatever. He goes, these guys have worked too hard. They've worked all over the world. They just finished a match. We're not doing this here tonight. And Alex Shelley steps up and he does his speech and he basically says, those tag team titles are the most important titles in the world to us. So if you fans want to see this happen tonight, right here, right now, let's do it. And so they sign the match, and it's on. And so they're doing the match. We have a double down, and Solo jumps up on the apron. He starts, you know, screaming at the Bloodline and everything like that. And out comes Jimmy. And, of course, Jimmy goes after him, and then we start getting the big schmaz, and then they hit Roman Reigns music, and the place goes nuts. And Roman comes out, and him and Jimmy brawl to the back with Solo and Jacob Fatu. And so it's back to being the tag team match again. And we get a big ref bump and everything, and, you know, the heels are trying to cheat with a steel chair. So who should come out but Jey Uso? The fans, by the way, knew this immediately was going to happen. They're chanting yeet. Jey Uso comes out. He gets rid of that chair, hits a bunch of super kicks. The referee starts to wake up. Motor City Machine Guns, they go up top. They hit their finish. They win the tag team titles from the Bloodline because Jey Uso got revenge for the Bloodline costing him the Intercontinental title against Braun Breaker on Monday Night's Raw. I was watching this and my brain's just exploding. I'm like, oh my God, this is freaking perfect. And to their credit, which is funny, by the way, when you think about how long the Motor City Machine Guns worked in TNA, it was not to the back. It's like the Guns won. They celebrate. They're holding the belts up. They're practically crying. They're hugging. Let's go to the replay. They show their finishing move. They show all of the spots in the match. The Guns celebrate. They go all the way up the ramp. They're celebrating on the ramp with the titles. They gave them their moment, even though this was tied into the whole Bloodline storyline. So they finally get to the back. They get their big celebration. And then Jimmy walks down the aisle. And Jey is in the ring. And of course, Jimmy didn't want to team up with Jey. He didn't want to team up with Roman Reigns. He wanted nothing to do with him. But then the Bloodline got involved in his business. Man, he walks down that aisle. He gets in the ring. There's like 30 seconds left of TV. They do the big hug. Even though they see each other all the frickin' time, it's like in the moment, they both start crying. The Usos have reunited. Place is going crazy for this moment. Show ended, I was like, this company is like, in this particular storyline, man, they're hitting on all cylinders. I can't say that for the rest of SmackDown. There was like some other stuff on the show that was like, oh my God, what is LA Knight doing? This nerd. But man, this main event, this last 45 minutes, it was awesome. Absolutely great. Fans ate it up. Everything made sense. All tied into the storylines. And as they're crying, Roman comes out on the ramp and he sees them both. And he's not so sure about Jey. He's kind of like, I don't know about this. Because they still need one more man. They're killing it, dude. With this Bloodline storyline, I don't even know how. It's still going on. But man, they're pulling it off somehow. They're pulling it off. Love that.
Weaved everything together perfectly. And a lot of people I know don't like the story, the length of it, all that sort of stuff. But if you're an older wrestling fan, this is how things went. They kind of weave things through every week. You had Barry Windham going after Ric Flair for a year, and you weaved everything together. That's just how it goes. And it has not been perfect, but that on Friday was a perfect way to get the titles off the Bloodline to the Guns. You give the Guns a huge moment. Now, they don't have to be set up for a rematch right away with the Bloodline. The Bloodline can kind of forget about them if you want to for a little bit, and they can just concentrate on Roman, Jay, and Jimmy. And you talk about Roman walking out there, giving the look. He's the one that actually extended an olive branch to Jay. And Jay was the one who said, no yeet. But now that Jimmy and Jay are back together, now that it looks like everything is leading into the Survivor Series and we're going to build to a multi-person match where the Bloodline is facing off against, the original Bloodline, however you want to look at it, with the Usos and Roman. And probably Sami Zayn. I mean, everything has gone it went perfectly. It really did go perfectly. So no complaints out of me for anything that happened on SmackDown, at least when it comes to that part of things.
And hey, Collision, Ricochet and Lio Rush, freaking great.
God,
this match
great.
was awesome. Ricochet won, obviously, but like, if you want to see some great professional wrestling, I got a match for you. And then the main event with FTR versus Dralistico and Rush. Also, great match. This one might have went a little bit long because, you know, those they really like to give these Collision main events like 25, 30 minutes. They don't always need to go that long. And sometimes you can see the crowd, like the crowd's just going absolutely nuts. But then, you know, there's another save. There's another save. There's another save. And they kind of, like, the crowd goes down a little bit. But the match was great. And then afterwards, LFI goes to kill FTR, and the Outrunners go down to make the save. So, I don't know. Maybe Outrunners are going to get their win back. I guess we'll find out. I wouldn't have beat them in the first place, especially just to give them the win back. But they better at least get their win back. We'll see what happens. But that was a great match as well.
Why would you have not have beaten the Outrunners?
Because I want them undefeated.
Why?
Dude, don't argue this one with me. Because here's the thing. Why did we have to beat him? Because it's the exact same thing. Here's the thing. The reason people fell in love with AEW in 2019 was they didn't do what WWE did. And what WWE did was, all right, here's an act that's organically getting over. Well, let's beat him. Like, it happened over and over, and they couldn't make stars for like years on end. Because nobody believed anything. Because they beat anybody who was on the way up. So finally we get these Outrunners. All they do is lose. And so they start to get over as this gimmick. And it's like, okay, well, let's start giving them some wins. So they get a win on TV. They get a win on TV. They're getting more and more over. And like, they get a win. They get it. The people are getting into it. Like, okay, you know, maybe we're actually going to do something with the Outrunners. Then the LFI just beats them. Just beats them. It's like, why did you need to do that? Like, go with it. It's okay to go with something that's getting over organically. You didn't need to stop them in their tracks, like we've seen 1,000 times.
It doesn't sound like they're
over and
stopped
over
in their
again.
Tracks, though.
They were stopped in their tracks because they were beaten. You didn't need to beat them. It's okay to let them keep winning and like build them for something bigger. So you beat them so they can go back and have another match with the same team that they may win. We don't even know, by the way, if they're having another match with that team. Like, if they hadn't run in after the main event, it's like they lost as a setup to FTR beating that team.
If they had a tag team division and they actually had levels where you knew who the mid-card was and the lower mid-card and the upper mid and all that sort of stuff, they would probably be a lot better off. But in a place where everybody's a star, it leads to things like this.
Back in a moment with more Observer Live. Just a quick note before this free video. If you click like and subscribe, I'd be very thankful. Warner Brothers Discovery announcement came out, and the gist of it is Dynamite and Collision are going to remain on Wednesday and Saturday. Rampage appears to be history, which we had thought. Dynamite and Collision is streamed live on Max if you're a U.S. subscriber.
$555 million over 3 years, $185 million a year. Average $185 million a year. It starts lower. The middle year would probably be about that, and the third year would be up from that, and then the fourth year would be way up.
Big question for me is, are all the archives up? Or going to be up? Can I go back 5 years ago and watch all of the Dynamites in order?
I believe that they will be. Yeah, this won't be till January. I don't know that as a fact, but they're putting archival programming on, so there will be, I don't know if everything will be up, but there will be, I mean, I expect that everything will be up, yeah. I had a little announcement I wanted to make. A lot of people got really exposed, when this.
Oh, no, yeah, save that for the Garrett Show.
I mean.
Save that one.
Why? You don't want any heat from these people who deserve?
No, but I've heard it multiple times.
I've been sitting here playing punching bag for these clowns for years, and I mean, this was great. This was quite the week of vindication between that Vince McMahon documentary and this deal. Yes, for me, it was an even bigger vindication for Tony Khan. Not that it's even though they're completely different topics. The guy who spent 5 years with all these clowns calling him a money mark, and they went through a couple of years in money losses, which a lot of businesses do. And they could afford it, but the long-term goal was always to make this thing profitable. So at the end of the day, here we are, and with this deal, this is going to be the second most profitable pro wrestling company in the history of pro wrestling. And all of these people that, and it's like, I'm not saying you should have figured that much out, but in the last year, it kind of was leaning this way. And even if it wasn't going to be the second most profitable company in the history of pro wrestling, it would end up being profitable, which once you're profitable, the term money mark goes out the window. So anyway, this is like complete vindication. Jericho actually went on the show. I mean, it was almost like he was reading my mind with that line about, boy, did all these experts come off as being really stupid and out of touch. I don't know if he used those words, but they were. Because it's not like this came out of nowhere. We've been talking about this for months. I've been telling people. I've been telling them. I go you better frickin' pivot because you're going to look like fools if this deal comes in the way it looks it's going to come in. And none of them could stop. They're so deep into it. They've been lying to their podcast listeners for God knows how long. So anyway, there's a lot more to that. But anyway, I did want to get that off my chest.
Back at the show, Bryan Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. Maybe the Outrunners and Javon can win some six-man titles somewhere. God. Anybody else want to not get over?
Yeah, well, look, don't forget it.
All right,
Everything
thank you.
we talked about during the
All
break,
right.
Forget it.
Let's talk about the NXT Halloween Havoc, which was, it was all right. It started on a high note and fell from there. Tony D and Obafemi was an excellent tables, ladders, and scares match. And I don't know what they're going to do with Obafemi. I don't think he should go up to the main roster yet. But, I mean, he lost again here. But they still did everything they could to protect this guy. They had the entire family interfere to cost him the match. And he basically said that, we're going to find out what's going on Wednesday when Rizzo ends up confronting the person who attacked her, which is apparently Nikita Lyons, we are led to believe.
I'm putting the NXT title on Obafemi.
He should be the NXT champion. He's awesome.
I would get rid of look, I know you're going to kill some time with what looks to be Trick Williams and Rich Holland. That is what it is. But after that, as we lead into Royal Rumble, I would love to see him win the title, then show up at Royal Rumble wearing that, throwing some people out. I think that would be a great thing for Obafemi, who I don't think is going to be in NXT throughout 2025, that's for sure.
You should win the title and then lose it to Javon.
He could?
What's he going to be champion till 2040? Then we had an awesome moment. This was the best thing on NXT in 2024. Because it was the other thing this weekend that I didn't see it coming. And when they did it, I was like, all right, fine. I'll vote for Sean. Lexis King is sad. He's the son of Brian Pillman. He won't even call himself Brian Pillman. He chooses to use the name Lexis King. He doesn't want to be like his father. He wants to be a good, law-abiding citizen. And so he wants to not cheat anymore. He wants to wrestle gentlemen's matches. And so he has challenged Charlie Dempsey to a match for the Heritage Cup. We must follow the rules in this match. And last week, Charlie said, all right, well, you can have that match. But you need a corner man. Well, Lexis, he's not a good fella. He's done a lot of bad things. He is a son of his father. And he can't find anybody who wants to corner him. No friends. He doesn't know what he has to do to prove his worth. He goes to Ava, he says, I can't find anybody. Can you assign? She goes, I can't assign it. Which, by the way, is stupid. You're the GM. You could do anything, for crying out loud. But she says, no, I can't assign a corner man for you. And he's all sad. So he does an interview here on this show. Have you found a corner man yet? Nobody trusts me. I'm just trying to do my best. I don't understand. And suddenly there's a voice. Mr. Regal? That's right. William Regal walks on screen.
I like how you've turned this into a children's book.
He says, I knew your father very well. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree, says William Regal. I appreciate that you're trying to be your own man. So, I'll be your corner man. Happy to do it. Lexis says, oh, wow. Thank you, Mr. Regal. And Regal says, there will be a time to thank me. Died. Absolutely died. They waited for the perfect moment to bring him back as a character. This is incredible. I cannot wait for this show on Wednesday. Absolutely great.
What do you think's going to happen?
I don't know.
Because there's a lot of shady people now involved in this.
Oh man. Well, then we had, we had a segment before the show. Fatal Influence. The stipulation was one of them gets a match with Kalani in an unnamed match. Wow, what a build. But there was a point to it. Because we had to wait till the day of the show so they could say, well, it's going to be Fallon. And she's going to tell you what the match is going to be. So Fallon says the match is going to be a gauntlet. You, Kalani, you're going to have to go through Jasmine first, and then JC, and then I'm going to go on last. In other words, these two suck. They'll butter you up, whatever the word is, and then I'll finish off the job at the end. And so that's the match. Corin Roxanne beat Stephanie and Julia. Stephanie ended up getting the pin over Roxanne, so they'll be doing a title match there with Roxanne and Stephanie. And then they showed Zarya looking on. It's a pretty good match, but Cora Jade's got a way to go, man. She is gun-shy after her injury. She's got a giant brace on. Like, all of her high spots, you can just tell she's petrified. She was all right. The other three were great.
It's a high-profile situation to be in, too, before you lament about Javon Evans there. I mean, that was a hell of a big match to kind of come back into here for Cora Jade, so we'll see how things go with her. But, again, watching Roxanne Perez in that match, I just wonder, okay, how long is Roxanne Perez going to linger down there? How long does she need that belt?
Cedric and Javon have a meeting. Javon's all sad. Should I have slapped him? Cedric says, I wouldn't have slapped him, but you know what? Don't be a pushover.
Nathan
And in fact,
Frazier.
because you I got it. Because you slapped Nathan Frazier, I'm showing him how it's done. Because you slapped Nathan Frazier, we are getting a tag team championship match next week. And then he pauses and he says, maybe it's okay to do something bad to get ahead. Every once in a while. But, dang it. Almost dropped 2 bombs right there. So either Javon is getting turned on by Cedric Alexander, of all people, or he's going to win the tag titles because Cedric cheats to win. You know, last week, Mike, I got a bone to pick with you.
Oh, yeah?
You said, oh, you hate Cedric.
Yeah.
You're a horrible person.
No, I'm not.
I don't hate
You have
Cedric.
complained about him.
I don't hate
since
him at
jump.
all.
Yeah, you've
No.
complained about him
The
since he
problem
came
is
back to
this.
NXT.
The problem is this. Why am I caught in my thing?
Why are you yelling?
Because you accuse me of something that's untrue. I don't hate Cedric, dude. Here's the problem.
You love Javon.
Nobody cares about Cedric in NXT. Nobody. You could take virtually anybody from the main roster and bring them down to NXT, and the place is going to go nuts like Jesus walked into the building, okay? Every time they bring Cedric out, he gets no reaction. They don't see him as anything special. He's just a guy. I don't have any, he's a great worker, but they don't see him as anything special. So they're hooking up Javon with him, I guess because he's a main roster guy or whatever. But the fans don't see Javon with Cedric as anything special at all. It's not like they brought down Randy Orton and Randy and Javon are a tag team. That's the issue, not Cedric himself. I have no problem with Cedric, but nobody sees him as anything special. He's like a guy that's there, and he's just like a guy. So no, hooking him up with Javon is not helping Javon. It's doing the opposite, in fact.
Throw on some knee pads for Shawn Michaels earlier on here and said, boy, I'm going to vote for Shawn when it comes to Booker of the Year. And didn't you complain, or actually not complain, because you complained about Rich Holland for a long time. Nobody cares about him. Nothing can be done with him. And then they got him over.
They did. They got him over. But Cedric is not over right now. So putting Javon with him is not helping Javon. It's hurting Javon. It is making Javon just a guy on the roster when he should have been more than that months ago. That's the problem.
Aren't they starting a story now with them? I mean, look, they have not used a lot of people to their potential since they came down and they kind of lingered. Ashante the Adonis is another one. He came in at the same time that Cedric did. Now they have something for Cedric and Javon. Obviously, that's either going to be Cedric against Javon or them as a team winning the titles, which would make sense because they may just be throwing something at you to make you think that he's going to turn on Javon Evans. When the reality is Axiom and Nathan Frazier are about to kill each other. They look like they're about to split. So why not just give it? Again, I know we can't give anything time when it comes to Javon Evans.
No, you can give it all the time.
It's got to be done right now.
You can give it
World
all the time you
champion,
want.
undefeated.
But here's the problem. The fans see Cedric as a mid-carder. So whether he's teaming with Javon or feuding with Javon, Javon is in a mid-card feud at best. And he should already be a main eventer. That's it.
Nothing is going to make you happy when it comes to Javon unless they just belt him
No, if they
up.
did it right, I'd be happy. But they haven't done it right at all. They've done the opposite. We had Ridge Holland beat Andre Chase in the ambulance match. It was fine enough. But it was nothing much more than fine. It was just kind of there.
That was every match on the show, to be honest with you. I mean,
Yes.
they were all good. That was it. Solid and good.
We had Kalani defending the title in a gauntlet match. I mean, I'm probably being nice by giving this a 1.5 stars.
Yeah.
Kalani and Jasmine, no heat. Nobody cared. Kalani won. Kalani and JC, slightly better. Nobody cared. Kalani won. Kalani and Fallon, very slightly better. Everybody tried to interfere. And Kalani ends up kicking or she goes for, there's interference, and finally she's distracted. She goes for the 450 late. Fallon gets the knees up, hits a Shining Wizard, pins her. And it's like, man, Kalani was the first ever women's North American champion. The first ever title change should have been like a big deal. This would have been miles better if you would have just done Kalani versus Fallon in a long singles match.
Yeah.
Instead, you added a bunch of rigmarole. It made it seem like just nothing. And, Kalani's win was like nothing. Fallon's first big championship win, which is long since overdue, just felt like nothing. And then Zarya showed up and just destroyed her. So I was like, oh, man, that sucked. And then the main event was Trick and Ethan. NXT title, tables, ladders, and scares. 3 1/4. It was fine. Did a bunch of spots. Gimmicks. And then finally just Trick clobbered him with the steps. Trick knee pinned him. And then afterwards, Ridge Holland attacks Trick, coming off his win. Bubba Ray Dudley, who was there with the Busted Open crew, makes a save. And so, yes, we have a match coming up at the ECW Arena. And it looks like we're going to get, in 2024, in the ECW Arena, we are going to see Bubba Ray and Trick Williams versus Ethan Page and Ridge Holland. All right. Wow.
I need them to book Lance, but they also need to book Lance's rat tail from 1993 to go in there and actually interfere in the match. Please make that
I'm
happen.
sorry, everybody. It was a Devil's Playground match. I'm sorry I got the stipulation name wrong. Anyway, I need
Javon's
a break.
fault.
Observer Live. Just a quick note before this free video. If you click like and subscribe, I'd be very thankful. Granny, how are you feeling?
I'm good. Set up an exercise program.
What kind of exercises are you doing?
Well, for one thing, just sit and
I got that one
me?
down.
kick my
Sounds like
feet.
my exercise program.
Your exercise is just sitting.
Who was the most inspiring person you have ever met?
Granny of late.
Fair enough, yeah.
Yeah.
I got nothing better.
I'll have to say myself.
Okay.
What's the best part about having a massive heart attack?
Not dying, I guess.
There you go. Good answer.
Jeez, what a question.
Which vegetable would you send to outer space for aliens to try?
Broccoli.
How
was
do you
a
have that so quickly?
ridiculously fast answer.
You've thought about this before.
It was at WrestleMania, the one in Phoenix. I can't remember which one.
I gotta go. I have to sneeze. Bye.
Okay, bye, Granny. Granny laid on the guilt trip to end all guilt trips. Sorry, I wrote. Forgot we going 30 minutes late. And then you began. Gee, thanks. 30 minutes late. Was not told. Aggravating. I guess my time doesn't mean anything. Jeez.
Wow.
Golly. You happy, Granny? You made me so angry. You're over there snickering, laughing at what you've done. God.
Good.
You're going to have a heart attack
Anything
like
else?
Granny.
Yeah.
Goody, goody.
Goody, goody, she says. The news of you having a...
What
Cardiac
medication
arrest.
did they give you? To make the heart blacker? You enjoying yourself, quietly giggling over there? All right, Granny. What have you got today?
Nothing.
All right, we'll see you later.
You better have something after all that.
Liv Morgan versus Ray Ripley. Just recently.
That's the date.
You told me that you watched CM Punk and Drew and didn't watch any more of the show, but this was on the show.
I know. I watched this one. Because I wanted to see what happened with Dominic. In which Midwestern city did rapper Eminem grow up?
Detroit.
Eminem.
8 Mile.
Okay, we had a new segment, Granny reads rapper names. That's
Eminem.
I am an M.
Eminem.
Eminem.
Yep.
Eminem.
Ryan Adams covered an entire Taylor Swift album. What is the name of that album?
Ryan Adams.
1989.
Yeah.
That's the right answer, dum-dum.
Excuse me.
Okay, now I'll quit picking on Brian and go away.
Thanks, Granny. I didn't even talk about Tatum Paxley and Ava. You got to pay for that. It's last night's Brian and Vinny show. I also couldn't even begin to do it with the language requirements here on national radio. But Dave here on the board, not Meltzer, he actually has done an excellent job of ranking all of the GMs in WWE. Says Ava's the best, he says. She's just over life. She cares about Tatum, but is a slacker at heart. So she wants to look after her when she's found, but was never going to put effort into finding her. It's exactly the storyline. Nick Aldis, he says, great GM. Adam Pearce means well, never works out for him. Ava, work experienced teen just trying to have a chill summer. Absolutely right. Absolutely correct. Could have added, instead of work experience teen, just like teen daughter of the owner or something. Just trying to have a chill summer. Because she is the Rock's daughter. You guys wear that? Ava's the Rock's daughter. You know what I'm saying?
Got all of his speaking ability and charisma. So, what can you do?
What I can do,
I don't know,
is wrap this show up.
Thank God.
Because I've had enough.
Please.
But I'm going to be back tonight with Wrestling Observer Radio with Dave Meltzer. All of the news, Raw,
Trying
more
to
on
get
NXT. And then already done Filthy Tom today. And then tomorrow, more Observer Live. And tomorrow is the Brian and Vinny, Craig, Sean, and Granny Halloween episode. Costumes right and left. And it's going to be awesome. Only for subscribers at WrestlingObserver.com. Or Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube. Just put F4WOnline.com and follow it up with /Apple, /Spotify, or /YouTube. Sign up today. And that's it. We'll talk to you next time. Wrestling Observer Live.